Today I'm going to make some Halloween votive holders with the powder printer. And I'm going to make pumpkins and bats. I've been making a lot of pumpkins and bats, and I'm just going to keep up making some more, but I'll use them in a little bit different way today. The little points on the template go up into the little points in the frame. A treated shelf is underneath. I'm going to use black for the eyes and mouth, and then I'm going to use a combination of olive and woodland brown for the stem. I'm going to mask off the stem so I don't end up with any of the black in the stem. And then I'll do those, and then I'm going to go back and I will mask off when I'm doing the stem. Now you have to lift up straight and carefully tap off the powder to reclaim. Number 2 is the ribs in the pumpkin. So again, put the points in, gently, gently, gently place it down over top of what you've done already. And these veins are going to be made up of woodland brown with a little bit of green. So you'll see right here, the vein color went over to the mouth. Not a problem, because what's touching the tray is going to be the front, but that section right there, I need to touch up with a little bit of the black. It's going to be tricky to get it in there without getting it onto the part that needs to be orange. I'll give it a try and see what happens. And then after that, we put this one on, and this gets filled with pumpkin orange. It's important to make sure you have enough powder. You really want to cover everything well, even up to the edges, and you want the powder to come slightly up the edge. So these do not have enough. Well, I thought I filmed that, but I didn't. But that's enough powder at this point. I would like to put a little more on this edge. Unfortunately, that's the extent of my orange powder. So I will try to put a little, but I can't. I don't really want to put the stencil back on, because sometimes when you're trying to put it back on after you've done it, you end up knocking some of the powder. So these are ready for the kiln. And pumpkin orange powder gets added to my list. I often do these one at a time in the Paragon kiln, but today I'd like to do 2 trays at a time. I don't have any more of the proper shelves, but when you're using a single layer stencil, it's pretty easy and these, I don't know if I'm gonna get a big bat and too small. I might just do too small, which is what I need for the project. So I'm going to use the larger shelf. It's not the Fusing Factory, the frame is not going to work. So I'm just going to lay it over in a way that I can pick up the stencil, even though I'm not using it properly. If you're doing it in a single layer, this works great. If you're trying to do this with multiple colors, it does not work well at all. But for this little project, votive holders, this will be fine. I'm just going to get 2 little bats, and then I only have to run the kiln once instead of twice. Make sure you've got enough powder. These have a lot of little points and details. You have to make sure the powder gets in there. It doesn't have to be as perfect when it's only 1 layer, because it's really easy to clean up after it comes out of the kiln. It's tougher when the stencil is multiple layers. Then you have to be a lot more careful and make sure no powder gets where you don't want it. With these bats, these are just quick and easy. You just have to make sure you have enough powder to get in all those little spots. And this one is going to be a little bit trickier to pick up because it's not neatly in the frame. But if you just grab it very carefully, lift straight up. There you go. I always reclaim my powder. If it's single color and uncontaminated, I put it back in the jar. If it's been contaminated, I have a big jar that I use to backfill objects where it doesn't matter what the color is on the back. And so there we go, ready to go in the kiln. The base for these is going to be 2 sheets of 3x4 tacta. That way I'll have a nice solid base, and then I can glue it to the votive holder. So I will fuse these first before adding the wafers to them, and then I will tack the wafers to them later. So let me cut a bunch of these. I put a layer of crystal clear powder between all the pieces that I'm going to fuse together. That way the air bubbles have a little bit of space to get out, and you end up with a really nice clear base. Otherwise, when I just stack 2 pieces, I occasionally have gotten air bubbles there, and I really don't want air bubbles. So a little bit of crystal clear powder, stack them. I'm going to put them in the beast, so I'm going to do a whole bunch of bases at one time. And I should be doing this over a dark piece of paper to make it easier to see. My pumpkins and my bats are done, and now I need to grab the bases. I just unloaded the Olympic kiln with mixed results. The bases came out great. A few of the pendants came out great. The barrettes, dog boned, and I don't like the color combination anyway. The pattern bars worked. You can't see the pattern because I capped them with white, but you can kind of see a hint of yellow in there. So these hopefully are gonna look like daisies. That'll look like a daisy with a leaf. That's gonna look like the Irish flag for a St. Patrick's Day project that's coming. But next up is to finish with these votive holders. And I'm going to use the pumpkin wafers and the bat wafers. First step is a quick cleanup because they have a little bit of what looks like a fuzzy edge. So you just take a thin file and just smooth that all down. I did them thicker, so I think I'm going to use the little workbench, which will make me less likely to snap them. So these are going to go, these 2 clear backs for tack fuse, and then they'll be attached to the votive holders. But these bats look great on this swirly orange and green. So I'm going to make another set of the little bats to make just a little coaster is probably this size, or a little teeny trinket dish. We'll see. You're going to be able to see the votive holder behind this piece of glass. So I think I'm going to put a little bit of frit to camouflage it. So I'll use a little bit of green for the pumpkins. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the bats. I may just let it show through because it's not that big of a deal, or I may try to camouflage it a little bit. Final step is to glue on the votive holders. I'm going to be using these. These are the ones from IKEA, which I really like and have used a lot of, but you can't get them anymore. These I got from Amazon. And I'll glue them on with the Gorilla Glue, and they will be ready to decorate for the holiday. So I held them firmly in place for about 30 seconds, and now they have to rest 24 hours to cure.